Welcome to Indie Conquest Reviews. My name is Jason Glover, and the whole point behind this series is going to be looking and showcasing independently designed board games. I am part of a community of many board game designers, and I wanted a way to look at games that I think sort of are flying underneath the radar, or maybe are exposed to some level, but I think could use a little bit more exposure, and maybe look at some games that maybe should stay underneath the radar altogether. So I will be reviewing strictly board games that are unpublished. So if you're looking for a review of Dominion or something along that lines, or a Fantasy Flight game, this is not going to be the place for that. This is going to be for games that have not yet been picked up by publishers, or if they have been, they're games that are published by very small one-man operations. When I review these games, I'll be looking at four different aspects of each game, and those will be the appeal of the game, the actual visual appeal of the game. Is there quality components? Does the artwork look good? Does it grab my attention? Secondly, I'll be looking at the mechanics and the gameplay. When I played the game, did I feel like there was some sort of flaw in the mechanic, or did I feel like everything ran smoothly and there was a great pace to the game? The third thing I will look at is theme. Is there a theme at all? And if there is a theme, does it tie in well with the mechanics and the artwork? And the last thing I will look at is the replay value of the game. Did I enjoy my time with the game enough that I'm going to take it back out off the shelf, or is it going to collect dust? Or are there mechanics that are involved in the game that allow it to be fresh every time I play it? I will take those four different categories and I will rate them 1 to 10. Then I'll get my average from all four of those to get my overall feel for the game. That's basically it, and that's how these reviews will run. And without further ado, let's take a look at the first game. Welcome to Indie Conquest Reviews. Today we'll be taking a look at Siege. It is a tower defense card game. It plays 2 to 4 players, lasts 30 minutes to 60 minutes, and it says for ages 12 and up. It is designed or published by TV Games, and the designer is Kenneth Bogdahl, and the artwork's done by Sage Turk. I'm assuming the Bogdahl and Turk is something to do with the TV Games. Let's take a look at how this game runs, and we'll come back and see how I feel about it. Okay, once you get the box open, this is what you're gonna find in there. You're gonna find a large number of actual cards that are going to be used for playing the actual game. You have a bunch of cards here that you'll use to build your castle walls. Each player will get a quick play card or a quick review card that has some of the basic rules and what some of the different emblems mean, which is very handy, nice thing to have. You'll have 2 dice, 2 6-sided dice, and you'll have 2 of these plague cards, and we'll get into what exactly what their function is in a few minutes. Setting up the game is really quick. Each player gets 7 of these wall cards, and they're going to place these cards out in front of them to basically form their castle wall. And these cards are 2-sided. One side has the wall in its perfect state. It has not yet been destroyed. When the walls are destroyed, they are turned over to show the explosion side. So you will build your castle wall like such in front of you, and you'll be playing your different cards that you have inside your castle. You'll have defensive cards, and you'll have siege equipment. You'll have certain characters that can live inside your castle walls, and all of these cards benefit you in some way. After this, each player will be dealt 7 cards after this is thoroughly shuffled, and you'll be ready to play the game. Let's take a look at how the gameplay goes. Okay, I have this game set up here in front of me for a 2-player game. You can see both of us have our wall of 7 cards. As I said, both sides, there's 2 different sides of this card. Basically, when all of your castle wall is destroyed and all 7 are turned over, you're vulnerable, and one more further successful attack upon you, basically you're out of the game. So, how does the game work? You have your 7 cards that you start with, and on your turn, you can play any number of cards you want out of your hand. This is not really advised early on in the game. You might want to hold on to a few cards, because at the end of your turn, you can only draw 2 cards. So if you play all your cards and you only draw 2 cards, you're only going to have 2 cards. So you have basically different symbols on each of these cards, and these will tell you what these cards can do and where they can go and how they operate. And each player, like I said earlier, has one of these reference cards that they can look at to sort of get an idea of how that works. Let's take a look at each one of these different 6 types of cards. You have enhancement cards, and these are cards that you play onto the board, and they're permanent unless another opponent destroys them, and they basically add some sort of defense to your castle. Now this one here might, for example, successful attacks by a ballista or catapult and trebuchet are 1 less value. So it basically allows you, when these dice are rolled in an attack scenario, you can subtract 1 from whatever your opponent rolls. Secondly, you have garrison cards. Now these are character cards that basically are people who will inhabit your castle. So here we have a knight and here we have a blacksmith. So the knight, for example, allows me to, and these are placed inside your castle wall, I should mention. So all your enhancement go on the outside, all your garrison go on the inside. And for example, like I was saying, this knight will allow me to add 1 to my attack to any opponent I'm attacking that's right next to me. So in this case, a 2-player game, it's going to always work because my opponent's right next to me. But in a 4-player game, the opponent that's directly across from me, this will not have any benefit for me against them. Next, you have defensive card. Now these are, I have a little red shield here. These are reactionary cards for the most part. You can use these out of turn. So if someone is attacking you and it's not your turn, and you have this in your hand, you can say, hey, no, you're not going to do that. However, some of these have requirements. For example, this one here, I cannot use this card because I don't have any archers. If I had archers, I could negate or cancel out any attack against me. You also have these special cards here. Now I have 2 assassins here, but there's all different sorts of them, and basically what these cards are one-time use cards, whereas the garrison cards stay permanently unless they're killed, and these enhancement cards stay permanently unless they're destroyed. These are only used once, and they're usually pretty powerful. They allow you to basically take out a wall, or assassinate someone in their garrison, or sabotage one of their enhancements, things along that line. So these are pretty good cards to use strategically, maybe hold on to and just to annihilate someone all at once. And lastly, you have attack cards. These are basically the brunt of the deck. And these are different ways you can attack, catapults and different types of medieval siege equipment. And how these work is you'll see that there is 3 different numbers here. And you're going to roll your 2 6-sided dice, and you're going to refer to this chart here. Now you might have bonuses in play, like if you have the knights and you're using this card against someone next to you, you'll get to add 1 to whatever you roll. But whoever's you're attacking, they better be quick to mention what they have as far as enhancements or things that they can use to defend against it, because they can as well modify this roll back down. Now you'll see here a +10 will do some serious damage. In this case, a +10 will allow me to remove 2 wall cards and an enhancement card from a target. So that is completely a very, very, very powerful card. So if this was used against me, for say, this could be removed and 2 of these cards would be flipped over and destroyed. Now, if I had rolled a +4, the attack wouldn't be quite as successful, maybe destroy a wall. But however, this red here indicates that if I roll below a certain number, in this case, if I roll 3 or less, something bad happens to myself. Now, not all attack cards have this, but some of them do. And you got to watch out for that, because obviously you don't want to lose your own, have someone in your own castle die or something because you failed to execute this card. Now, there's all sorts of other little cards that will come up in here that are helpful. You have a supply card here that you can use that allows you to draw 2 cards. And you have a, what's this one? A wall repair that allows you to basically flip your card back over and repair a wall. So you're going to want to hold on to these and use them in a timely fashion, because maybe you want to bluff you don't have these. If you use these wall repair cards right away, people might come after you. You might want to look like you're the weakest link where you have a bunch of these in your hand. Lastly, how this game sort of comes to an end is all your walls are flipped over and indicating that you've been destroyed. But you don't die once the last card flipped over. So let's just say the game's progressed along quite a bit, and my opponent happens to hit me with some sort of attack, and I have to flip over my last card. So I have to flip this card over. I'm still not dead. I'm still alive. So if I still had a wall repair card or something in my hand on my turn, I'd want to use that immediately and get myself back in the game. However, if I don't have anything and my opponent or another opponent, if you're playing in multiple players, if they attack me successfully, if they roll the dice properly and they hit me any amount, I am destroyed and I'm out of the game. That's where these plague cards come in that I mentioned earlier. If you're knocked out of the game, in a two-player game, the game's over. But if you're knocked over in a 3 or 4-player game, you take one of these plague cards, you basically wreak havoc on the other players on your turn. So you still sit there, you're still part of the game, you don't have a chance of winning the game, but on your turn you get to roll these dice and look at the chart and see what you can do. Now in this case I wouldn't get to do anything, but if I had rolled a 7 or higher, 8 or higher, or 11 or higher, I could start affecting the game. I could start knocking out people in their garrison, and things along that lines. So it is player elimination in this game, so I'm not going to say it's not, but this does allow a player who gets knocked out to still have some sort of function in the game, and I kind of like that. Overall, very solid game. Let's go take a look at how I rank this game. So you got to see the game played a little bit. How do I feel about this game? Well, let's go over the 4 criteria. The artwork in this game is very, very good. It's cartoony, but it's very well done, and there's a lot of little funny things that are kind of happening on the cards if you pay attention. Like for instance on the castle walls, when the wall's fully in good health, there's a little lizard kind of hiding in there. Actually you just see a little eyeball, I believe, and then when you flip it over and it's exploded, you see that lizard kind of flying through the air. So there's lots of little stuff like that and in this game. So the artwork is very appealing to me, and I think it will appeal to the masses as well. I think this is a great game. It has a good store, like it would look good on a store shelf. However, the box that it comes in is okay, but the card quality is good and everything else about the game is good. And for this reason, I'm going to give the art and appeal of this game a 9. Let's take a look at the mechanics. The mechanics for this game are pretty solid, as you saw. The thing that stands out the most for me in this game as far as the mechanics are concerned is the fact that you're physically building your walls with the cards. And as you're destroying your opponent's castle or they're destroying your castle, you're flipping those cards over and revealing that explosion. And that really adds sort of a drama and a lot of theme to the game. And the fact that you're actually putting your defensive cards, your enhancement cards in front of it, and you're putting your people, your garrison cards inside, it really does feel like you're sort of building a castle and you're fortifying it. The attack cards and the special cards work very, very well, and as far as other things with the mechanics that I really enjoy are the fact that you have to really manage your hand. You can't just, like I said, you don't want to go all out and use all your cards right away because you're going to be depleted and you're going to have a hard time building up your stockpile again. And you don't want to do a lot of bluffing in the game. You might want to let your castle wall get destroyed a little bit, like I mentioned during the gameplay, to sort of throw off your opponent. So there's a lot of strategy involved, and it seems like a light game when you start playing it, but as you play it a couple of times, you can really see there's a lot of strategy and depth in it. And the one other thing I really want to point out that I want to give them credit for was this game could easily be a game where there's just player elimination, but there's not. There's the ability that the players that get knocked out, you're only going to be out of the game for 5 or 10 minutes, but you get to be that plague card and allow you to wreak havoc on the other players, and that's really kind of a fun thing they added to the game, especially when you're playing with kids, because kids get really grumpy when they get knocked out of the game. But if you say, hey, you get to be this and you get to destroy things still, they get very excited. So I really enjoyed that aspect of it, and for that reason, I'm going to give the mechanics of this game a 9. Let's take a look at the theme. The theme, medieval. You're building a castle. It's a tower defense game. So in that regard, it does its job very, very well. The fact that you're laying out your cards to build your castle, and like I mentioned before, you're placing cards on either side, it does really feel like you're building a castle. So the theme does work very well. However, this could be any theme. You know, this could be a space station, or it could be anything. So there's nothing really in here that makes it 100% a medieval game. And for that reason, I'm going to give it an 8. Replay. This game has a pretty high replay. Now, if you're a hardcore gamer and you're going to want to be playing Battlestar Galactica or something, this is not going to be a game for you. But if you're a casual gamer, I consider myself sort of a mid-level gamer, this is a great game to play with people who, maybe it's game night and you have a half an hour, and this is a game you can teach very quickly, and get it to the table and play quite a bit. And I love it because it's good with my kids. It says on here 12 and up, but that's not true. This game could be played with 6, 7, or 8-year-olds, and they would have a great time. They'd understand it after one play, and they'll be giggling as they're destroying your castle. So I think that this game has a lot of appeal, something that would be great on in a family game library, because it works well with kids, and it also works well with a small group of people. It's easy to teach and it's easy to learn. The rules are well written, and for this reason we give the replay value an 8, just because maybe there's some people that aren't really into the theme, and there might be some people that might find it to be a little bit too on the light side. So that's it. This is Siege, once again by TB Games. This game is available right now on the Game Crafter, so you can head over to the Game Crafter and pick it up. I don't remember exactly what the price was, but it's not too bad, and it's a great little game that you can add to your collection, and I think you'll really enjoy it. Now, this game is one of those games, I sort of wanted to start off this Indie Conquest reviews on a high note, and this is a game that I would consider a high note game. The average score being an 8.5. I think this game, if it was put on Kickstarter, would do extremely well. The artwork alone would draw a lot of attention, and I think once people dove into the mechanics a little bit and maybe saw some gameplay videos, they would really, really be on board for this project. So if you happen to be the owner of this game or the publisher behind this game, I urge you to consider either pushing this into a publisher's hand and getting this thing published by somebody, or considering running a crowdfunding operation for yourself, most likely a Kickstarter, because I think this would do very, very, very well. Well, thank you very much for taking the time to watch this video. I hope it's been insightful, and I look forward to doing a lot more video reviews for you. Thank you.